The black mirror spots they're blocking the peripheral vision and they're creating shadows in the eyes. And then when you close your eyelids and look through them, no sunlight is actually entering through the lid. For driving, I think that it's impacting the ability to see somebody coming in the other direction before pulling out into that lane. It doesn't always get it right, so cars are pulling out in front of other cars because they can't see them. One of the things that I first noticed was that my whole eyelids were blackened or darkened, and there was no longer the same light entering my, outer light, not direct sunlight, but outer light of daytime, entering my eyes in the same way. The technology, has grown into the shape of a golf ball within my eyeballs, and images are being computer programmed into the panels. Is that this technology has been put into our bodies and it's grown through our eyeballs, and it's live streaming cognitive imagery to influence our behaviours and choices. My brain has become more aware of the time changes or time distortions or time delays associated with the imageries coming into the eyes. It's literally having a constant internet device in the eyeballs that is engaging with us. Lots of people are experiencing the hallucinations. Creating these visual illusions that look like somebody's standing in the room or look like somebody's standing at the door, or so they're like shadows, and they've effectively just live streamed internet into our brains. I don't think that this can just be detoxed.
Today we're having another interview with a whistleblower on the topic of AI assimilation related to a phenomenon that they're experiencing in their eyeballs that's causing eye distortion. The whistleblower today is going to speak about what that's like and has put together a lot of great information and detailed explanation of what that is. And so I'm going to start with a PowerPoint presentation that gives an overview of that experience, and then we'll go into some details, some additional details about it. This presentation is called Black Mirror Spots in the Corners of the Eyes.
Hello, everybody. I'm just here to discuss the presence of these black mirror spots in the corners of my eyeballs. I've had my blood tested multiple times, and I have nanotechnologies or nanoparticles inside my blood. And I've been documenting the design over a couple of years and discussing the experiences with other people. And then one thing that I thought is that many of us have accepted that there's technologies all through our bodies now. And we were discussing, what is the actual design, or the how do we identify these without any testing? And one of them is that these masses of what I think could be nanotechnologies, I believe them to be nanotechnologies, have formed in the corners of my eyeballs, and they are actually black mirrors, and they're spots, and they reflect back into the eyes. And so today is a short introduction about where the black mirror spots are and some of the basic identifications, just to get people to test themselves. And then after that, we'll go more into the way that the actual presenting some sort of theories for how we're understanding what's happening to us. Because one of the problems is that the people who study this, they're advanced in their fields, whereas we're only experiencing it. So not only when I say we're trying to find the design, we're not able to get a design in terms of our university educated or peer-reviewed studies, but what we are able to do is identify our experiences of, and then begin to present ideas and theories for what's happening to us, that hopefully other people who have the right qualifications can hear what we're saying and say, they're identifying it in these ways, and then try and put it into what the technology actually is. So yeah. Okay, so To describe the black mirror spots is that they are black, but they've got a iridescent. I made a spelling mistake there. They've got an iridescent blue lining around them, and when I press my finger into my upper eyelid, which we'll be doing on the next slide together to identify where they're located, but when I do that, I see the black spot with the blue iridescent glow around. Another thing to consider is that when you're looking at the slide, this spot is presented in a specific size, but the actual spot of it inside my eyeball is very small. It's more like the spot that's below. So if you press your finger into your upper eyelid and then move your eyeball from left to right, so that's the test, but there's excuse me, there's spots on both the inner eyelid. Sorry, they're in the upper eyelids first of all, and they're both on the left and right of the eyelids in each eyes. So the blue lines on these pictures indicate that on each side, if you when you're pressing your finger into the far right of your right eye, the iridescent blue spot will show on your right eye, but on the left eyelid. So it will show on the opposite side that you're pressing. I don't know whether this is because it lifts up light into the upper eyelid, or how it can be seen just by pressing on the eyelid. But yeah, they're on both left and right eyes, and I believe that when I move my finger along the top of my eyelid and moving my eyeball from left to right, I believe that there's actually a third dot that's in the far corners of the eyes. It's above that as well, as in like I can physically see it with my own sight. Here's an example of it. I identified it in yellow so that it was obvious for people to see. But the black panels, the black mirror dots are in those areas of the eyeballs. This morning I lifted up my eyelid and then I pressed into the eyes. I believe that the panels are actually embedded into the eyeballs and not in the eyelids, but it's obviously very difficult for me to, tell or confirm this. So, yeah, I hope that other people can test as well, and obviously people who have equipment can start looking. There appears to be a black mirror spot in the actual eyeballs side, so it's like looking through it, looking at it, or looking ahead of it. So to say that some sort of design with the technology has placed the technology into our vision so as to effectively move the technology to then influence the way that we're looking. One of the things that I first noticed was that my whole eyelids were blackened or darkened, and there was no longer the same light entering my, outer light, not direct sunlight, but outer light of daytime entering my eyes in the same way. Then after that, I can't remember. It was sometime during the studies of last year that I became aware of the black mirror spots. But it wasn't until like recently when I was thinking about, everybody's fully aware of the nanotechnologies now. So how do we move into the whole AI assimilation? And so a really obvious one would be for the black mirror spots, because people can easily test their eyelids straight away. The other thing is that the black mirror spots they're blocking the peripheral vision and they're creating shadows in the eyes. So the eyelids are also shadowed. And then when you close your eyelids and look through them, no sunlight is actually entering through the lid. In the past, I used to close my eyelids and there was a skin color. And then the other thing is that when I think that the technology in the eyes has created a sensory changes to the nervous system between the eyeballs and the face, and so there's sort of like a loss of full sensation of self when the technology is functioning in the eyeballs. And then the other point is that the in that bottom right-hand corner is that those black mirror spots that are over the eyeballs, it's like a transparent film when you're looking through it or you're looking just past it. So it's there, but it's not there. So you really need to use like keen judgment when looking at imagery. Like one thing is that I think that it changes the way that the eye focuses. So you can see it a lot in graffiti art. When you're going to look at a wall of graffiti, that area where the grey is in those images, it has a sort of tube focus that only focuses on one area of the entire graffiti wall. So it's like restricted and controlled the way that the eye is taking in imagery. Let's say that if the graffiti wall has a panel of 100 panels, so I can see all of the 100 panels, but that one area of my eye where I'm saying this black mirror spot tech is it can only see the one panel out of those 100 panels. So it's like a sort of, lens, extra lens, or, the tech has altered the way that our eyes are not just focusing as in the action of focusing, but the actual receiving of image focusing, and then also the mental awareness of what information the site is giving us at the same time. The next one is the nanotechs are coding image and moving image into a golf ball pattern into the eyes. So my way of understanding what's happening is that the technology has grown into the shape of a golf ball within my eyeballs, and it has those patterns as described like the honeycomb, and within the honeycomb are these like tiny little dots, which is what forms these black mirrors. And those tiny dots are like plasma TV screens or the iPhone, or iPhone, whatever, mobile phone or tablet or laptop screens, and images are being computer programmed into the panels. So for the placement of a black mirror, to think that, to take it from our own experience to understanding the design at the same time while experiencing it, is to think of that golf ball and this placement of this panel in the corner of the eye, which has images being coded into it, which can either be like a flash of an image or a color or a picture of what to eat or something to influence behavior, or, the picture of your mother so that you'll call her. So, my conspiracy theory is that this technology has been put into our bodies and it's grown through our eyeballs, and it's live streaming, like how we're talking now. It's effectively like live streaming cognitive processes, it's live streaming cognitive imagery to influence our behaviors and choices. So it's like mind control with little screens in our eyes. It's real time. So like, I never knew anything about this technology, nor that anything like this was possible. And when it started happening, it was just so rapid and, in real time. But over a period of, whatever, it's been 3 years, my brain has become more aware of the time changes or time distortions or time delays associated with the imageries coming into the eyes. And then, not only did I documented them, but we also had a group. And so then we openly discussed not just what we're experiencing, as in like, oh, well, I'm experiencing myself standing here, but how we're experiencing ourselves standing here. So we were like secondary viewing the images. And it definitely is like having, it's literally having a constant internet device in the eyeballs that is engaging with us, just how you and I are talking this sort of video face to face through the phone. People said, many times the internet has faulted or it's been shut down, whatever. we were aware of that, and the images continued, you know? Yeah, so like I can't say it is the internet, but it's definitely some sort of technology. And then, you know, another like another it's a permanent technology that's been done in the last few years, yeah. Yeah, so here's so some of the images that frequently show up, I think I said, yeah, is what item to purchase at a cafe, and then showing what to look at your phone or computer before looking at it. So it's, you know, suggesting and influencing. And then another thing that it does is that it shows what room of the house to walk into next. And, you know, one of the other guys in the group and I was joking about this because we were saying, oh, well, you know, it's supposed to be such a complicated computer system, but how many ways can you code yourself walking from your bedroom to your kitchen before you become used to the same code? The next one was obviously that it shows the face of the mother and the father. And because it's showing the face of a mother and father into this like paneled space, it's not actually the life of the mother in a memory. It's the photographic one-dimensional picture captured of her because it's, you know, been programmed. And then the other things is that people reported artificial dreams, and my theory is that when we're asleep, our eyes are being shown, you know, effectively a live stream sort of TV, very, very complex AI systems showing, you know, imagery, which is, I think the intention is to reprogram our brains. And then the other thing is that I've been saying to people to think about this as a type of artificial cognition, or even, you know, I mean artificial consciousness to say that the intention of the software program was to assimilate with our own consciousness, to engage with us on a daily basis. So it's not artificial consciousness as in, oh, they've programmed consciousness. It's the engagement, it's the software engaging between the brain as a consciousness. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think it's also that it's an immediate test, which they can just do right now while watching this video. And, you know, the other thing is that I gave a presentation a little while ago and I was discussing that, you know, that middle panel when looking at art or when viewing things, and it's created like it's changed the vision to this sort of circular focus. And after the presentation, a woman came up to me and she said, oh, I've recognized my eye doing that when I'm looking at the phone. And so, I mean, that was like that's a massive thing to have somebody become aware of it while in a presentation looking at the phone, because, you know, it's such a serious issue. I've been, you know, trying to suggest that it's a possibility that this is a technology in the eyeballs, yeah, creating these visual illusions that look like somebody's standing in the room or look like somebody's standing at the door, or, you know, so they're like shadows. And because the nanotechnology is in our skin as well, it sort of like ripples up our arms, or it sort of like sends off sensors in our backbones as if there's people there. So I'm very politely urging people to check your eyeballs to see if you have the black mirror spots. I think that they used people's spiritual and religious beliefs to program people into beliefs that they were under like full-on demonic attack, rather than is this like, you know, a secondary action of evil. Yeah, so like evil got technology to enact evil on people, rather is it a direct spiritual demonic attack on an individual. Yeah, I think that some of the technology in the eyes is also like a nano dust and sets of nano dots. So the nano dots are in a rainbow collection of different, they're in red, blue, green, purple, yellow, and orange. And then the other substance in the eyes is a nano dust. And so not for this presentation, but I started to identify the language of the sensations, which is that the technology burns the eyes. I think that the particles are actually able to move in and out of the eyeballs in the same way as beeves move in and out of the hive. So it's the sensations are there, but they're numb burning. Yeah, and it's changed the color of the whiteness or sclera in the eyes. I can't say like scientifically, yes, but I can say that, from human to human, is that I started looking at people's eyes and the cheek structures around their eyes. And I definitely think that people's eyes and their ability to look each other in directly into ourselves through our eyes has changed. The eyesight problems are there, and the discomfort as well as the swelling in the mornings, um, the blackens in the eyelids, the particles moving, the physics quality to them, which is production of sort of a heat and the vibrational waves, and then also those things are all there. And then when I go and seek medical attention for it, it changes as I'm entering a hospital. And so my theory on that is that because this is programmed technology, the software has been programmed to identify anybody seeking treatment to then reduce the use of the programming while they're seeking treatment so that the symptoms are no longer there. It's like a type of gaslighting because the symptoms are there, and then you go to the hospital to say, oh, well, there's these substances moving in my eyes. I've had my blood tested. I've got these nanoparticles through my blood. I think that they're also in my eyes, and I'd like to get the fluid in my eyeballs looked at. And then the symptoms just aren't the same. So I believe that the software has been programmed to stop the use of the tech, to stop making the technology move in the eyes upon seeking treatment, so that it doesn't look like it's actually happening to the person and the person says, oh, well, the symptoms have gone now. But when you walk out of the hospital, they return immediately. My experience is that this technology is so advanced in so many different areas. The people who designed this system have come from so many different backgrounds of knowledge that my personal belief is that, I think that this was done during COVID pandemic and that we had this technology put inside us as a covert military operation. So I think that the general public, the mainstream public, we've all had this happen to us. And it's my belief that scientists need to be made aware. And for me, my goal is to work towards having those people become aware of what's happened. Because I think that we're not just looking at a bit of technology in the blood or, nano dust in our eyeballs and brains. But they've actually they've done a sort of like nanotechnology neuromodulation of our nervous systems. They've altered our nerves to muscles to control and influence our body movements. They've put the technology, or they have the knowledge, that they've put the technology in our heart and brain spaces to alter our physics of our body. And they've effectively just live streamed internet into our brains, so as to put us under like our total control using psychology of extreme torture, dictatorship, and what's that called when you break a person so that they don't get up? Yeah. So I think that that's, to me, like when I have the awareness that that's what's happened, I usually try and go to, as many I don't think that this can just be detoxed. I think it's a really major set of many technologies working at once, and it's extremely complicated and is a catastrophe for all humans, animals, and plants. So that's my belief. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is why I was like, I try to say to some people who are coming from religious or spiritual backgrounds, I think that they programmed they've taken imagery that represents something, including horror movie characters, and then they're programming them into the panels or the black mirror spots in our eyes. And so the black mirror spots are like a TV showing into our eyeballs. So it looks like, you know, like with a sort of that a mathematical illusion of, oh, is this happening in my eyeballs, or am I seeing it in reality around me? And it's like these shadow creatures walking around from horror movies. So, I, I, it's really terrifying. Like I think they put themselves through trauma recovery for it. It's really bad. It mostly comes on at nighttime. During the day, I think that the programming is way more refined around the iris and in the pupil. And like this is more advanced. We'll probably have to discuss this. We'll discuss this in the future. But what we're thinking is that cognition or a cognitive process has been minimized over time to a specific area in the eyeballs, and so we engaging in our own thought with the AI that's programming the tech in the iris and the pupil, and it's sort of like, you know, stimulating areas of the eye which we've been programmed to experience as our own cognition. So I experience that more during the day rather than the visual. Well, because I'm interested, like when other people start coming out about this, or whoever's listening around the world, what are the language? Because we say, oh well, they're visual hallucinations, or it's like, you know, another thing is that the movement of the tech, the physics of it, has created a sort of like brain-based delirium. But you know, if I spoke to software programmers, they'd start to say, well, it's not literally a visual hallucination because they're creating an illusion of imagery into the panel in the eye. So then the retina in the eye is receiving that panel image as if it's actually sight. So then, you know, we'll move from visual hallucinations and, you know, to you know, a more software programming language. For driving, I think that it's impacting the ability to see somebody coming in the other direction before pulling out into that lane. I think that also because the software program is engaging with the tech while engaging with the brain at the same time, while engaging with reality and real life decision making, it doesn't always get it right. So cars are pulling out in front of other cars because they can't see them. The other thing is that those black mirror spots that are based in the peripheral vision are actually blocking, like physically, like horse blinkers, they block vision. And then the other thing is, like, you know, we're in this space where it feels like the space is both aware and not aware, because the space is nano dust clouds inside our brains. So it's like our decision making is definitely not in a human space. Yeah, it's like we we we're being, you know, influenced by the technology and the computer program that's programming the technology. So yeah. Yeah, that happened for a period of time. You know, usually different imagery has occurred at a period of time. Sorry, I'll say that again. It's not just what's happening now. It was the actual process that it took to install not just the technology, but to adjust the brain to engaging with the technology in the eyes without it being, you know, too obvious. And so for one period of time, maybe it was, you know, weeks to months, there were imagery of the swirls occurring in the eyes. So there's a couple of ways to identify that. Is that not identify? There's a couple of reasons that I think that was done. Is that the swirls cause like total mental nausea and sickness in the brain. They sort of created a physical inability for the brain to create the usual mathematics that it does of reality around us. And then the other thing is that the swirls rotate in a way that can then it makes it easier for the computer software to program rotate the head to the right or turn the head to the right. because the swirls in the eyes going that way. And so it's sort of like it's created a lucid state where we're like, hypnotized and in states of extreme fear and terror to then rotate our eyes to then which results in us moving our heads. So yeah, there's a lot of the stuff that was done is very practical for the result of physical movement of the body. Yeah. And obviously the other thing is that it's like hypnosis, masters of hypnosis. Ah, I think that it was part of the programming. The face matching is where in the panels, so when you see somebody who looks like another person, the computer program is um, it's creating a likeness or a familiarization or a knowing between, this looks like your old boyfriend, this person looks like your dad, or it could be your dad. So in a strange way, it's creating this artificially induced familiarization by doing a face match. That's more like an advanced area of the technology that we'll have to get into in the future. Yeah, effectively what I'm saying is whatever the technology is involved in identifying a mapping of somebody's face using those dots and effectively dotting and triangle, the mathematics, the software program is doing that through the technology in our eyes. Yeah, I think that because the technology has grown in this maps or netting in our face, and then it's moving, and so it's slowly broken down the tissues in our faces. One of the main areas is like, those sleeping masks that people wear, the eye face masks. They've one of the areas is like that over the eyes. It's like a visor, and then the tissue damage is on the upper cheeks, and it's going down to the jewels and via that nerve that's pulsing in between from the jaws. Sorry, from the jaw in between the teeth, and then it's a loss of the cheek area down to the chin. I think that's because the technology is creating micro movements in an attempt to either influence or control facial expressions. And as a result, it's actually broken down the facial structures of people. It's most obvious to me in women's, including teenage girls, which is extremely upsetting to see. It's in their upper cheeks, and then the sagging of the jewels. I haven't looked at men in the same way. It's in the high cheeks of the women. It has just dropped, and then it's because the cheek area has dropped. It's caused a unnatural wrinkling around the eyes, because obviously, before we got wrinkles because we had aging wrinkles, whereas now it's like nanotechnology in the skin wrinkles because of the degradation to the skin and tissue. It's really upsetting for the teenagers because obviously we all care about our faces so much at any rate. But I really think that, if there are other women, please, take action, because for the teenagers, it's just so bad for them to go through. And yeah, by outing this, I hope we can get all of the technology shut down.